following is an exclusive presentation of Prime Sports.
Oh boy, you can smell fall in the air, that first little tinge. I noticed back behind me some of the trees are showing their first color. You know, for many of us up here in the Northwest, fall means harvest trout. Hi, I'm Pete Van Gytenbeek, your host for Fly Fishing Northwest. And today we're on the Stillaguamish River, one of the many streams in western Washington that flows into Puget Sound and harbors a terrific population of Searun cutthroats. Searun cutthroat's not nearly as well known as the steelhead and the silver salmon and the chinook. But to those of us who appreciate them, they're no less sought after. This is a wonderful fly fisherman's fish. As always, my sidekick Les Johnson's along with us. Les wrote the book about 20 years ago on Searun Cutthroat, which is pretty much a Bible, I think, for most people. And Les has been able to round up Mike Kinney. Mike is certainly the best known guide who specializes in fly fishing for Searun Cutts. And I was looking around to see if I can find Les. As usual, he's managed to sneak out on the stream, and he's probably getting a fly fishing lesson from Mike, trying to get ahead of me as usual. There he is. Hey, you guys! Come on, let's get going. We'll see you all down the river. Now, Les, listen, before you get me on down the river, tell me a little bit about this Searun cutthroat. I caught, Snake River cuts and Yellowstone cuts and Rocky Mountain cuts. This is a little different fish?
Oh, it's a lot different fish. It's an anadromous fish. It's in from the saltwater, and they are very quick on the take. You're going to find that you miss easily as many as you hook when they come after the fly, especially this fly of Mike's that we're using today.
I was just about to ask him about this fly. Mike, you've given me the killer fly, I guess. Tell me, what is this?
This is a reverse spider, and it's tied backwards compared to most flies, so that the hackle actually comes over the eye of the fly. What this does is it makes the fly pulse like this as you pump it through the water.
Like a good hackle on a streamer.
It looks like an octopus or a squid or something.
And you tell me that a sophisticated Searun cutthroat is going to hit that, right?
Yeah, you're fooling him into thinking it's dinner.
Okay. Well, that's always the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And what kind of tackle now? I'm using, you've got me on about a 4X leader, if I'm not mistaken, and we're using, you said a 5-weight and a floating line, right? No sink tips, no down deep?
We go down deep when the sun is bright and we can't seem to get the fish to come up. But most of the time, you're able to raise these fish by presenting this fly in a fast action and making them go to chase, because these fish, their main thing is they love to chase things.
Well, let's us go chase them for a while. And if you guys can put up with a rookie, I'd sure like to get going down the river.
Yeah, you're quite a rookie, all right.
All right. We'll be right back with more Fly Fishing Northwest.
Oh, that is a pretty fish. Oh, that's a nice one.
There we go.
That's the one you've been looking for right there.
Fly Fishing Northwest on Prime Sports is brought to you by Internet Waterway, the premier online site for boaters and fishermen.
There you go.
Oh, that's a pretty one.
Well, welcome back. As you can see, while you've been gone, we've been catching a few fish. That's what they always say, right? Well, we really have. Les is getting into them, and Mike's putting us on some of these little cutthroat. They are really fun, strong fish, and it's good fun. So come on along, and we'll see if we can't find some more.
Okay, you guys got to lift that tip and drop it. Make sure that the fly slacks off and opens up a little bit before you come again.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So it actually stops dead in the water, doesn't it?
Take all the slack out with that strip, and just all you have to do is barely move the tip, then and it'll move a long ways. Yeah.
There you go. That's a nice one, Les.
Oh boy, let him down in there a little bit. He'll stay on better. Don't you just love these fish, Les?
Oh, well, you know. You and I maybe love them more than anybody.
There's another one.
There's a double.
Double ski.
Let's get him out of here, Mike, and let him get released real quick.
Still one more left in here, Les. It just came up. God, they're such pretty little devils. Come here, guy. Off you go.
Pretty fish. Oh, that's a nice one. Fresh in from the salt.
Here's his
Very nice.
baby brother. Bye. They do have teeth on those tongues,
There we
don't
go.
they?
Can you release him easy? Perfect. Well, Mike, that fly of yours is pretty deadly.
Do it again.
You know, Les, now that we've caught a couple of these guys, I think maybe I know the answers, or some of the answers to my question, but whatever prompted you 20, 25 years ago to write a book on a fish which is really very much a lesser known?
Well, I started fishing them as a kid, and my granddad, who was always pretty much a conservationist, he always felt they were pretty fragile fish and needed to be taken care of. So I started actually just making notes on my own fishing for them, and got talking to Frank Amato in about 1969, and he says, well, we could use a book on Searun Cutthroat. How about writing it? And that's what I did.
At least on this river system, has always been a small group of people that have religiously fished for them, and not only with flies, but with bait too. But they were just as serious about loving the fish and taking care of them as the fly guys were. They would fish night crawlers with no lead and real light leaders and float them into the fish and get nice fish. And they're, to me, one of the greatest fish that I fish for because of the way that they slash at the flies and they're so visual. And
Mike, you said that those fish are about, they go down to the salt after they're actually in their first year, right after they spawn.
Mm-hmm.
And do they all go down right away, or do some stay a little longer? Or depends on the river, or what?
I don't think anybody knows for sure if some of them stay 2 years or not. Have you ever heard of that, Les?
Now, usually those first ones go down to the salt, hang around in the estuary, and then when they come back, they oftentimes do not spawn that first time.
The original fishery for these fish was usually fish with a sinking line and a steelhead type fly like the Royal Coachman bucktail, the Thor,
Right.
the Skycomish sunrise, and the Knudsen spider. And that's what these flies are kind of designed after, except for I just added a little more action to them. If you see a fish, don't slow down or he'll turn right around and he usually won't come back.
Oh,
So if anything, you're speeding up, but generally just the same tempo will let him match the tempo and be able to strike.
And say a 6-year-old fish that has is living in a rich estuary is going to be, what, 4 pounds, 5 pounds maybe?
Up to 6 or 7 pounds. The largest recorded one is 17 and a half.
17.5 pounds?
Yep.
That's
the
like,
biggest in the state.
As Les, you said in your book, that's like the 60-pound steelhead and 100-pound Chinook,
That's
right?
what it's like, yeah.
Don't count on it.
That's a silver there.
Oh, that was a baby. Look at that, Les. I didn't even strike because I saw it was small. Now, how about that?
Well, I don't even strike when I see they're big.
I must be
You sure don't.
You're right. Well, you certainly proved that point.
I struck that one, but he was in the air, for Christ's sake. You see that?
There he is
Yeah.
again. Oh,
40-foot release. Hey, you don't want to touch those guys. It'll hurt them.
anticipated midstream release. There he comes. He's coming. Don't stop.
Well, I didn't see him. I was looking.
Oh, there.
Is that a big one? Little guy.
No,
huh?
it's a little one.
It's all right. It's a cutthroat.
Oh,
Don't stop.
you had to jump in the air, did you? You just showing off for somebody. Come here. We'll put you back so you can grow up. Cute little guy.
I think I've got the retrieve down pat. So you're in trouble.
Well, that's good, Les. That's a bigger one. Boy, they're
all right.
strong. I mean, they really are strong. That's a
Yeah.
good, strong fish.
Oh, that is a pretty fish. Oh, that's a nice
There
one.
we go. That's pretty. Look at that. Look at all those spots all over. Good, solid fish.
See how he's heavily spotted? That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
coastal cutthroat.
Uh-huh.
Little blood here. I think we better get him back in.
Take care
It's
of
just in the mouth. He won't be
him.
hurt.
Just in the mouth? Good. Well, after that excitement, how about a few words from our sponsors? We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Fly Fishing Northwest. Mike Kinney's put us in the honey hole, and we have had just a delightful 15 or 20 minutes with some really nice fish. Les, I hate to even talk about something else, you know, middle of the day like this, as well as it's going, but what about the saltwater fishing?
Oh, it should be right now, you know, this time of year, September, first part of October, there's still good numbers of cutthroat that are in the salt water. And there's a lot of good fishing out there for people that know where to find them along the beaches.
Was that something that you do a lot of?
Oh yeah, and I like to fish the salt. I usually fish it more in the summer than I do this time of year. I tend to be a river guy, but you know, our old pal Steve Raymond, he tends to fish the salt just about 11 months out of the year, I think.
Yeah, Steve does. You know, he says, you know, he helps me editing the magazine, and Steve's always talking about the salt. And when he talks cutthroat, which he talks about all the time, it's primarily salt water.
Yeah.
And Cam Sigler's another one.
Well, Cam lives over, you know, in Vashon, and he's got them right there in his front door.
Steve, what are you going to use today? I'm going to use one of these little streamers. I know we fish with different patterns. You fish with different patterns than I do. And I'm going to use a little tube fly that looks like a candlefish. And I found that they like, this is an olive green and yellow. And I've also taken a lot of fish on the black and yellow and white. And then here's another color that I use once in a while that works very well. It's
Looks like a Washington Husky fly.
yeah, it's a purple, pink, and white. But they're neat little flies. I've caught all kind of fish on these, including trout and freshwater bass.
Yeah, that's a nice looking pattern.
Let's see what you're using.
Well, if the water conditions are suitable, I like to use a dry fly for cutthroat out in salt water. This is the bug that I use. It's a little number 8 with a clipped deer hair body and a deer hair wing. And if the water's flat enough, you get the fly out there and skate it over the surface just like you would with maybe a traveling sedge up in British Columbia. And the cutthroat will come up even if they're not rising visibly anyway and take it right off the surface. And occasionally I've caught small cohos on this too, and other species of salmon. I enjoy it a lot. I don't know where else in the world you can fish with a dry fly in the middle of the winter and catch trout.
I don't
except
either.
on Puget Sound. It's a little choppy out here today, so I hope when we get over into some sheltered water, it might be calm enough to do this.
Steve, what do you look for when you're cruising around Puget Sound trying to find a good cutthroat spot?
So there's 4 things I always look for. One of them we've got right here is a cobbled beach, a lot of rocks. I look for oyster beds. Cutthroats seem to really like cluster over oyster beds. Don't ask me why. I look for freshwater somewhere not too far away because I've got to have a place to spawn. And I look for saltwater pickleweed, which is a kind of a sandy colored stubby little plant that grows along the beaches. And aquatic sow bugs and shrimp are thick in those things, and when the tide is high, the cutthroat like to come in and feed in those wheat beds. Now, you're using a pretty fast strip there, Cam.
Yeah, I find that the cutthroat, you know, they're a very aggressive little fish, and I don't think you can take it away from them if they want it. And when there's other fish around, like silver salmon, they like a fast retrieve, so they like it faster than this, but I kind of hold it in between, so I might pick up a cutthroat or a silver. Because if a silver comes behind that fly, it's so shallow I can see him. All I've got to do is speed it up.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. See the fish coming.
I've found that these fish will feed right on the beach. I've caught them, well, 2 weeks ago I was out on wading and I messed up a cast and the fly wasn't more than about 6 feet off the rod tip, just laying there and the fish ate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them actually feeding right up on the edge of the beach. The water's so shallow that you can see their dorsal fins. I think that's a mistake that a lot of cutthroat fishermen make, is that they fish out too far. They don't go in close enough.
It's nicer around that corner with all that wind.
Yeah, it is nice. What I like to do when I'm fishing by myself is anchor and usually fish a circle around the boat. If I don't find anything, then I move down the beach and do it all over again.
My best day out here, I took 17 fish from that point there to the ferry dock.
That's a good cutthroat day.
In about 3 hours.
You know, I've been fishing for these guys for about 25 years, and I would say over the years my average is maybe 3 or 4 a day.
That small, they're pretty fish.
Yeah, they are. You know, they got to be little at some time in their lives, you know. Not exactly a trophy, but that's what they look like on a small scale.
Those bright yellow fins.
Yep.
That one was on a dry fly.
Yeah, another one on the dry fly. Right in close and shallow water.
Oh, oh, what a beautiful fish.
Nice fish.
Oh,
Hang on, I want to get a picture.
good work, Liz. Good work. Holy cats!
it is a
I
nice
guess it's a big cutthroat. Let's see. Oh, that's a cut.
That is a
It's a hell of a
cut and half.
cutthroat.
Whoa!
Jeez. And the hook fell right out, just like it's supposed to. Oh, look at that fish. Son of a gun. Look at that. Bring your jaw there. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. What a lovely fish.
Let me see a second, Peter. About 19 inches.
See you, big guy. Thanks. Hey, man, this is the biggest one we've seen by a bunch. This is a big fish.
What's your order, Mike? Okay.
Nice fish, Les. How'd it go? That's a beauty.
Yeah, that's it.
Somebody get the oar and knock that thing off. I don't want to have Les beat me. For goodness sake, that's the biggest fish we've seen. Oh, that's a beautiful fish. How'd it go, partner? Just give him some time. Give him some time. He looks like he's in reasonable shape. I think he can stand the fight a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
This is a hell of a fish on a 5-weight, right?
Yeah, I guess.
You guys catch these things on an 8-weight steelhead rod and they don't think they got much.
All right, bring her in here. Well, gotta bring him over.
Oh, that is a big one.
Gotta bring it over the top of that.
Well, I am.
I mean, I don't want to scoop until. Otherwise, I'll knock him off.
Well, so you're trying to ham this up? We're going to see this fish now. Come on.
He's got a shoulder on him, doesn't he?
There he is.
Oh, that is a beautiful fish. That is absolutely
All
a
right.
gorgeous fish. Boy, that's a fish of the day.
About the same, no, about the same as that big one of yours.
Well, that's a beauty.
Oh yeah, aren't they pretty? Oh boy.
Look at that. How'd it go,
Hold
Les?
that one up.
Good
Show it to
going.
'em. That's a beauty.
That is a great looking fish.
Nice fish.
Boy, that's what they're supposed to be.
Isn't that beautiful?
Well, Les, I don't know what we're going to do that's any more fun than that. That last fish you got was a beauty.
That was one nice cutthroat. Yeah, just a beautiful fish.
Well, it's a nice way to end a wonderful trip. It's time to say thanks. Thanks to Cam Sigler and Steve Raymond out on the Salt, and to Keith Robbins, who guided the camera boat. To you, Les, as always, as my sidekick, you come up with some wonderful trips, and you found Mike Kinney.
That was a secret today.
That is a secret. I can see why this man is supposed to be the top guide in this part of the world for cutthroat. I don't doubt it for a moment. Oh, for all of us at Fly Fishing Northwest, this is Pete Van Gytenbeek, wishing you tight lines.
There one, Flash.
Somebody missed again. Who is this fellow that keeps missing?
It's easy as that.